All right, in this video, we're going to be looking at a couple of the questions in the rational expression area. And so I wanted to look at several of these because I know this can be a challenge. So really, one of the questions I wanted to look at is number 23. So this is the rational expressions and equations area. Okay, that's chapter 6. All right. And number 23 was one where they gave you an expression, and what they really asked two questions. One of them was to figure out where it was undefined, okay, for what values was it going to be undefined. And that has to do with division by 0 is not okay, right? It's not allowed. So you look for where you have a 0 in the denominator. And then the other part is for you just to write it in lowest terms or to simplify. So when you're doing the part A, you just focus on the denominator only. And you look for what causes that to be 0. So quadratic, so you're going to work on factoring it. It factors into a plus 3 times a plus 6. You set those equal to 0. And then a equals -3 or a equals -6 are your two answers. So that tells you those are the numbers that would cause the denominator to be 0. And so you can't have those. A can't be -3 and a can't be -6. All right, and then the other thing we're going to do is we're going to take the original expression and we're going to simplify it. So when we do that, what I like to do is just factor above and below each of these. So you can't cancel anything out until you factored. And so we're going to cancel out the a plus 6. What we're going to have left is a minus 6 over a plus 3. Okay. So your answer to part A should be that a can't be -3 or -6. Your answer to part B would be the simplified form of that. Okay. All right. And then number 24, that one is a division problem. And it's asking you to divide these two fractions. Okay, I wrote that wrong. You be sure you don't do that either. Copy the problem accurately. Really look to make sure you haven't miscopied when you copy from the screen to your paper. Okay, all right. And then this particular problem, I'm going to wind up keeping the first fraction the way it is. I'm going to change this to multiplication, and then flip the second one, take the reciprocal of the second fraction. Okay. And so at this point, you really have one big fraction. And what we're going to do is we're going to work on factoring all the parts so we can cancel out any common factors. Okay, so x squared plus 9x plus 20 has nothing in common. So we're going to think about how to break that down. And so we're going to use a 4 and a 5. So we're going to have x plus 4 and then x plus 5. I would start with that one because it's the easiest one to factor. And then I would go in and look for the next easiest one, which I think is this guy down here. That would be x plus and x minus 5. Okay, so I got those two factored. All right, and then maybe up here, this is kind of tricky because it's not two binomials. I would just factor out the 4 and see what's left. So I had 4 times the x minus 5. And then over here on this one, I would factor the 2x into 2x squared into 2x and x. And then I'd have to work a little bit on this one, but I have a lot of hints. I see 4 and 5. I'm not going to use 2 and 2 for this. I'm going to use a 4. I'm going to put it there because it's probably going to knock that guy out. So that's what I think is going to work. And sure enough, it factors into 2x minus 1, x plus 4. Now at that point, you got everything factored. You're ready to cancel out any common factors. So here's an x plus 4 on top and bottom, an x plus 5 on the top and bottom, and x minus 5 on the top and bottom. So we have a 4 left on top and a 2x minus 1 left on the bottom. Can't do any more canceling. Can't divide 2 into the 4 because this 2 is not a factor down here. So that would be your final answer. Okay. All right, I want to maybe do one more on this. I don't like these videos to get too long, and I need to do a lot of these rational ones. Now we're getting into like the adding and subtracting. 25 is an adding problem. Actually, let me stop and start that on